அதனால் ராட்சசர்களும் அசுரர்களும் தானாகவே இவர்கள் உயிரை எடுக்கின்றார். நன்றாய் புரிந்து கொள்ளுங்கள். உயிரை கொடுத்தாலும் தர்மம் காப்போம் என்று நிற்பவர்க்கு நிலைத்திடும் வீரஸ்வர்க்கமும் கைலாச பதவியும், எக்காரணம் கொண்டும் தர்மம் காக்க மறந்த உத்தமோத்தம ஜனனமான சனாதன ஹிந்து ஜனனம் பெற்ற மக்களுக்கு இல்லை வேறு கதி. சனாதன ஹிந்து தர்ம மனித ஜனனம் உத்தமோத்தம மனித ஜனனம். உங்கள் உரிமை உலகில் அதிகம், உங்களுக்கு கடமையும் உலகில் பெரிது. தர்மம் காத்தாலே கடமை, தர்மம் காக்காதார்க்கு உயிர் வாழும் உரிமை இல்லை. நன்றாய் புரிந்து கொள்ளுங்கள். உத்தமோத்தம பிறவியான சனாதன ஹிந்து தர்ம பிறவி எடுத்த எல்லோரும் புரிந்து கொள்ளுங்கள். உங்கள் வாழ்வில் தர்மம் காத்தல், தர்மம் காக்க தர்மம் உங்களை காக்கும். சனாதன ஹிந்து தர்மம் காக்க மறந்திட்டால் வாழும் உரிமையை நீங்கள் இழந்து விடுகின்றீர்கள். அதற்கு மேல் வாழ்ந்தென்ன அழிந்தென்ன? பூமிக்கு பாரம் குறையட்டும் என்று அசுரர்களும் ராட்சதர்களும் உங்களை உண்டு தீர்க்கின்றார்கள். அதையும் மாயை கண்டு சும்மாவிருப்பாள். பிரபஞ்ச ரகசியத்தை, பிறவியின் ரகசியத்தை உலகிற்கெல்லாம் உத்தரமாய்ச் சொல்லிவிட்டேன். புரிந்து வாழ்வில் நடந்து உயிரை பத்திரமாய் பார்த்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள். அன்னை சொல்லும் அருள் சத்தியம் இது. ஓம் ஓம் ஓம்.
Yes. Now let us look at the translation of Devi Parashakti's revelation. Listen. Andajam, Yonijam, Jalajam, Bijam, like this in 4 types of births in 84 lakh yonis. In all these births, the most greatest birth of them all is the human birth. Even in that human birth, being born and toiled many times after getting burnt and toiled in politics and finance, in luxuries, in dharma, artha, kama, and those who decide of not wanting this birth, wanting only moksha, only those will have the Hindu Dharma Yonijam, the Sanatana Hindu Dharma Yonijam of being born to Hindu parents. Human birth is Uttamam, the best, and Sanatana Hindu Dharma human birth is Uttamottamam, the best of the best. Uttama birth has the responsibility of enlightenment and Sanatana Dharma. And also they have the right of experiencing its benefits. This right was given to them because of their commitment given by them to this responsibility. And after coming to Bhuloka, by getting mentally deluded and forgetting the dharma of protecting Sanatana Dharma, Maya, she is taking away all their souls. Understand carefully. I am giving the Sanatana Hindu Dharma Yonijam only for those who gave the commitment of protecting Sanatana Dharma, even by giving their life. And after getting the body, because of painful deluge, not dropping fear and greed, for those who forgot to protect Sanatana Hindu Dharma, Maya, she will immediately add them all to the list of those who are not worthy of living. Therefore, Rakshasas and Asuras are automatically taking away their life. Understand properly. For those who stand that even by giving their life, they will protect Dharma, will permanently have Veer Svarga and Kailasa Padavi. For any reason, people who forgot to protect Dharma, having Uttamattama birth of Sanatana Hindu birth, there is no other way for them. Sanatana Hindu Dharma birth is Uttamattama human birth. Your rights in this world are immense, and also your responsibility in this world is large. Protecting Dharma is responsibility. Those who do not protect Dharma, they do not have the right to live. Understand properly, all those who took the Uttamattama birth, which is Sanatana Hindu Dharma birth, all of you understand. The first responsibility of your life is protecting Dharma. If you protect Dharma, Dharma will protect you. If you forget to protect Sanatana Hindu Dharma, you lose the right of living. After that, what bothers whether you live or get destroyed? Asuras and Rakshasas will eat you, so that the burden on earth is reduced. Seeing that, Maya, she will keep quiet. So Devi Parashakti has revealed that Hindu birth, the being born to Hindu birth, parents, is the best of the best births, the Uttamattama birth. And we have been given this birth as because we have committed to take the responsibility to protect Dharma, to protect Sanatana Hindu Dharma, and protect this science of living enlightenment. So now let us understand more about the responsibility of Hindus and why we need a Hindu nation. Hinduism represents the world's most ancient yet progressive indigenous spiritual tradition. It is an open framework model of civilization that stands for global peace, vegetarianism, nonviolence, yoga, worship of nature, temple-based living, manifesting spiritual powers, and the inherent divinity of every being. And the Hindu nations were ecosystems where more and more enlightened beings could be produced, so that enlightened civilization could be lit alive and its great gifts shared with the world. So now let us look at some of the references of Hindu nations from our Hindu scriptures. The Hindu nation ruled by Bhagavan Rama, the Rama Rajya, was one of the greatest Hindu nations that we have heard of. And in the Valmiki Ramayana, it's described in Valmiki Ramayana, it describes the Rama Rajya. There was no widows to lament, nor there was any danger from wild animals, nor any fear born of diseases. The world was bereft of thieves and robberies. No one felt worthless, nor did old people perform obsequies concerning youngsters. Every creature felt pleased. Everyone was intent on virtue, turning their eyes towards Rama alone. Creatures did not kill one another. And the description continues on. People survived for thousands of years with thousands of their progeny, all free of illness and grief. The trees there were bearing flowers and fruit regularly without any injury from pests or insects. The clouds were raining in time, and the wind was delightful to the touch. Every caste was performing their own duties, satisfied with their own work and bereft of any greed. People were intent on virtue and lived without telling lies. All the people were endowed with excellent characteristics. All were engaged in virtue. And one of the other famous Hindu kingdoms was the Hastinapur kingdom, ruled by Yudhishthira, and it's infamous for its prosperity and wealth and the abundance of every citizen. In the Srimad Mahabharata, it describes Devas granted rains to fulfill all wants. The world became free of all diseases. There was no hunger or thirst anywhere. There was no mental suffering. Those without livelihood were given livelihood, and there was abundance all around. There was no worldly worries left for anyone, and there was no cause for fear either. Happiness on earth was in fact even greater than in the heavens. You can see that our Hindu kingdoms that were ruled by Hindu principles had so much of prosperity and abundance for every citizen from all classes and creeds. And this was because of the Hindu scriptures, our Hindu principles that were used to govern these ecosystems. And the Hindu nation, whether in the fields of enlightenment, health, science, technology, aviation, dance and music, clothes and jewelry, social systems, judicial systems, political systems, and legal systems, Hindu nations contributed in every single field and gave breakthroughs in every field. So let us understand now how our Hindu nations were destroyed. Over the course of 1,000 years, we've seen multiple phases of invasion and destruction where we had 56 nations, Hindu nations once, and now we've been reduced to only one, which is Kailasa. Now let us understand the history of the destruction of our Hindu civilization. The first phase of the destruction of the Hindu civilization were the Islamic invasions, which happened between 800 and 1700 AD. This was the physical destruction of our Hindu civilization. And Will Durant, a famous historian, has described the Mohammedan conquest of India is probably the bloodiest story in history. The Islamic historians and scholars have recorded with great glee and pride the slaughters of Hindus and forced conversions, abduction of Hindu women and children to slave markets, and the destruction of temples carried out by the warriors of Islam during 800 to 1700 AD. Millions of Hindus were converted to Islam by sword, and during this period, millions more were raped and murdered and dismembered. The Islamic law prescribed for Hindus, as conveyed by Khilji, has described that Hindus are like mud. If silver is demanded from them, they must, with greatest humility, offer gold. If a Mohammedan desires to spit into a Hindu's mouth, the Hindu should open it wide for that purpose. God created Hindus to be slaves to the Mohammedans, and the Prophet hath ordained that if the Hindus do not accept him, they should be imprisoned, tortured, and finally put to death, and their property confiscated. To keep Hindus in abasement is especially a religious duty because they are the most inveterate enemies of the Prophet. You can see from these descriptions how barbaric this invasion was, how it physically destroyed the Hindu civilization. The next phase of the destruction of the Hindu civilization, and during the Islamic invasions, over 200 million Hindus were slaughtered by the Muslim invaders. Over 100,000 Hindu temples were destroyed, and over 1 million deities and scriptures were destroyed. And it was described that the conquering armies burnt villages, devastated the land, plundered people's wealth, took Brahmins and children and women of all classes captive, flagged them with thongs of rawhide, and carried a moving prison with them and converted the prisoners into obsequious Turks. So you can see just from these numbers how destructive, how barbaric these invasions were. And this saw the physical destruction of the Hindu civilization. The next phase was the psychological destruction of the Hindu civilization, which was the British occupation between 1700 and 1947 AD. This was the economic and psychological destruction of the Hindu civilization. So after being physically assaulted and weakened, the British invaded and destroyed the Hindu population economically and psychologically. Will Durant has described, I have seen a great people starving to death before my eyes, and I'm convinced that this exhaustion and starvation are due not, as their beneficiaries claim, to overpopulation and superstition, but to the most sordid and criminal exploitation of one nation by another in all recorded history. And during the British occupation, the British Empire used all possible means to destroy the Hindu civil and cultural institutions in order to delegitimize and demoralize the indigenous people of India so that they would become slaves in their own homeland.